This video is about to get very surgical. Last year, Punch tweeted something that I found very interesting. Rap feels like October 5th, 539 BC. And y'all already know, I had to look into this, right? And this happened to be the day that Babylon fell. Now for me, the timing of the tweet is what made it interesting. Because this was around the same time 21 Savage album had just flopped. And then the figureheads, I guess you could call them, of ATL rap music was talking about F the streets. It just really seemed like everything in that arena was imploding at that point, right? But as I started digging even deeper, I noticed that there were actually a lot of similarities between Babylon and that specific legion of rappers. And y'all know who I'm talking about. The government mandated features. Come on, bruh. Drake, 21 Savage, Young Thug, Lil Baby, all them dudes. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. But not only that, I found that there was a lot of similarities between Kendrick Lamar, TDE, Cyrus the Great, and the empire that he built. And this is why I made the video, The Fall of Babylon, which is when Punch ended up following me on Twitter. I'm not sure if that was the video that did it, but the timing was interesting because it was right after I dropped that video. But now I want to take a specific deep dive into the similarities I've seen between Kendrick Lamar and Cyrus the Great. Now, Cyrus the Great was somebody who has one of those classic hero journeys type of stories. You feel what I'm saying? He didn't come from power, wealth, or none of that. And actually, the chances of him surviving his circumstances were slim to none. He lived in a reality where his existence was challenged simply because of the people that he belonged to, and the medians ran his region. His people were not a major power at all, and he didn't inherit anything. However, this gave him insight on what it was to be in those positions, which helped him in what he ended up becoming later on. Now, when you look at Kendrick Lamar, he also has that classic hero's journey type of story. He also doesn't come from wealth, and he lived in an environment that was hostile due to the people he belonged to. The same way Cyrus the Great was targeted for being Persian, Kendrick was targeted because of his affiliation with gangs in Compton, California, which also minimized his chances of survival. But that's exactly what he did. And this allowed him to humanize the people who also experienced what he has and helped him develop the proper understanding for his later purpose. Cyrus the Great wanted to revolt against the median rule since his early teens. So this desire for change, this desire for something different was in Cyrus the Great early. And his love for the Persians, which is his people, was his ultimate anchor in the process. He was dissatisfied with the median rule, which was a dominant and oppressive one. While not all Persians were able to see the issues with the rule, some did, and therefore became allies with Cyrus in his quest for rebellion. Some stories suggest that he was actually destined to overthrow them through a dream. Kendrick Lamar had a similar view about the rap industry and its lack of substance and authenticity. Kendrick raps about his discontent as early as 2009 on the Kendrick Lamar EP. As many didn't see the issue within hip-hop at the time, some did, and therefore saw the potential in Kendrick's ability to restore the genre back to its roots and its rightful place, art before commerce, but still being able to mix the two. Not only that, Kendrick Lamar also states that Tupac visited him in a dream, telling him to keep him alive and restore hip-hop, which at the time might have sounded crazy to a bunch of people. I remember the things people were saying about Kendrick Lamar at that time. But when you look at the way things panned out, I mean, were they that crazy? Not really. Cyrus the Great took a unique approach in taking over Babylon. And what he did was he took note of the weaknesses of Babylon and took note of people's growing frustrations within Babylon. And this allowed him to make a promise that was going to fulfill the people of that kingdom, right? Kendrick Lamar studied the rap game and noticed that his competition wasn't providing the authenticity that he could provide, which is why he then doubled down on that authenticity in his music. And he used this to give the fans what they craved but weren't getting from the current, we could say, rule of the hip-hop industry. Cyrus the Great also positioned himself as a liberator. So this was his image, was that he was supposed to be a liberator of these things that people were frustrated from, while making sure to respect the natural traditions of the people from the kingdom, which was the opposite of what the kingdom was doing prior to him. They were disregarding the traditions. They were treating the people as if they were cattle, so to say, right? Kendrick did the similar thing where he consistently portrayed himself as the artist who would save hip-hop, as the artist who would restore hip-hop to its roots. And he leaned into this by prioritizing the art form over the commercial appeal that could have easily blew him up and took him to the next level. But doubling down on the art shifted the expectations that the industry had on Kendrick Lamar, right? Then we look at Cyrus the Great and his approach to, let's say, breaking into Babylon, right? He used the Euphrates River to sneak into Babylon, which is something that nobody was expecting, because that wasn't something that had ever been done. And this is how he caught Babylon off guard. Kendrick Lamar continued to break barriers and catch the industry off guard with the releases of his albums, which broke many rules. I think about songs like Heart Part 2, where he says, they said 7 tracks, I said 15, called it an EP. They said I'm tripping, but little do they know I'm trying to break the rules that we've been confined to so the corporate don't make decisions, right? This is essentially his approach to the rest of his career after that EP came out. And he broke many rules on how to succeed within the industry, which caught the industry off guard. Cyrus the Great actually entered Babylon. It wasn't much of a fight because nobody was able to see him coming. And this made the people of Babylon view him as a unique leader with qualities that they had been wanting to see in their leader. And this ended up being a swift capture of the current, let's say, administration of Babylon, which forced everything connected to the king to fall. Kendrick did a similar thing where, even though he prioritized the art, he still dominated the awards with art that put the craft first. And that essentially declared war on the commercial approach of hip-hop, reminding people that you can have influence, dominate commercially, and still dominate the award shows, which went far beyond the hype of his perceived competition, Drake. This allowed Kendrick to have an even playing field when he actually decided to battle Drake, which led to a swift and dominant win over Drake. Cyrus the Great took over. He delivered his promises on how he would rule, maintaining and respecting traditions, controlling citizens in a peaceful manner, and not repeating the same dominant rule as the ones before him, maintaining his promise and receiving great approval from those who appreciated him. Kendrick Lamar, by defeating Drake, opened up the doors for an entirely new era of hip-hop that he promised since early in his career, even taking hip-hop to heights that it's never been, while also helping shatter old narratives about what was and wasn't acceptable in the rap industry. Artists are now more focused on the art and delivering great music, and that is focusing on the craft first. The crazy thing about this is this doesn't have to stop right here. Kendrick Lamar's run and dominance over hip-hop really hasn't ended yet. This story is something that I think this is a new era that we're entering, that we have no idea what's coming. And there's a lot more to Cyrus the Great story as well. So I would love to continue for time to pass on and see if there's still comparisons made in the moves that Kendrick Lamar makes in comparison to the moves that Cyrus the Great ended up making. And another thing that I want to state is that we are not saying Kendrick Lamar is a deity or that he's any of these things. And I'm actually shocked that I have to say this for some of y'all. I understand that Kendrick Lamar is just a man. You're not supposed to follow just a man, but you can appreciate a man who's attempting to raise the consciousness or raise the perception of people in the world. You can appreciate that. And when we compare these pop culture moments to history, all we're doing is using pop culture in order to talk about history, which I don't think that's crazy, but some of y'all do. So, and that's fine. I'm gonna keep doing it. That's pretty much all I really wanted to say on that. just to give y'all some clarity on what it is that we're actually doing here, okay? Now, stay tuned. These videos might not come every Sunday, but they will come at least every other Sunday. And we aren't just going to be talking about Kendrick Lamar, because there's other comparisons. Like, I really want to talk about things like Tiberius and P. Diddy and all these different things that we can really break down, and it gets crazy. So, yeah, like, comment, subscribe.